Hey everybody, thanks for being here to Business Inspiration. This is Dana with CoachDanaInspires.com, and we're excited that you're here today. We have a special interview today, and it's with Albert Chang. Albert Chang speaks. He is a fabulous entrepreneur and business coach, and we're happy that he's here today. So hi, Albert, how are you doing today?
Hi, Dana. Well, I'm doing fantastic now that I'm talking with you today. So,
Yay!
great.
All right, how's the family? Everybody okay?
Yeah, thankfully, I'm living with my parents who are up there in age, like in their late 70s and early 80s. So I'm thankful that they've been able to be fine during this period of time. So very,
Good.
very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. Yeah, I think sometimes we are so focused on the bigger picture that we forget, that our own family members, especially those who are older or have those some conditions that might make things a little serious. So I'm glad that they're doing well. Good for you. Wow.
Yeah.
So how do you see business, moving along? We've been here, we were talking earlier, 10 months of this wonderful COVID excitement. How do you see, woohoo, how do you see businesses kind of starting to move? Do you see people adjusting, or do you see people being positive or being pessimistic? What do you see out there?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's been almost 10 months already, and that's a pretty long time to see all the adjustments that have taken place. And sure, throughout this whole period, many businesses had to go through many changes to adjust to the new conditions from an operational perspective. I mean, mainly, sure, they want to keep their employees safe, first and foremost. And then, unfortunately, we've had instances where many businesses may not have been able to continue as well, too. I mean, it's there. There's two sides of this, and during times like these, I know it's tough for many, and my mind goes, okay, well, how are businesses going to survive throughout this tough time? I mean, of course, that's where my mind goes. And then on the other side, there are businesses that have done well because of the situation,
Right.
which I tend to forget depending on the industry that you're in. I mean, I've had a friend, for example, he used to teach classes to children, public speaking classes to children in a brick and mortar environment. But now, throughout the situation, business has been booming for him because since he's moving to the virtual world, not only does he have his current base of customers, he's been able to reach across borders because of this. So that's an example of where he's been doing well. And so that's one of the great stories that I've
Yeah.
been able to see throughout this whole period. Whereas, yes, there are the unfortunate circumstances where other businesses may have had to put their focus elsewhere, mainly cost cutting, just to stay afloat, which is very unfortunate during these
Yeah.
tough times. And also throughout this period, yeah, it's a period of discovery as well too. And going forward, who knows what the landscape is going to be. And I mean, I can't say because I don't have a crystal ball.
Sure.
And if I did, I mean, I'd be a millionaire if I had a crystal ball, if I could
Yeah,
tell you
right.
exactly, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen a
Right.
month
Oh
from now,
yeah.
or even a year from now. So a
Right.
lot of
Well,
uncertainty.
I think it's safe to say that the virtual situation is really going to be here forever.
Yeah,
I think many things are going to be just completely changed permanently for because of virtual.
exactly. I mean, that's a whole new world that everybody's been forced into, to
Right.
force to get used to or knowledge. I mean, the virtual world's been around already for many companies and many
Sure.
individuals for quite some time already. The only difference this time is that droves of individuals were just thrown into this situation basically within one day without
Yep.
any transition or any adjustment. And for example, telecommuting from work, remote working. It's been around for a while, but everybody's now been forced to get used to it. And after 10 months, many companies could be looking back and saying, huh, okay, we can save that much now from having people working from home.
Right.
Oh, I mean, some of those cost savings can be too tempting to pass up. And we could see many people just permanently working from home. I mean, whenever this whole thing ends. Now, of course, in certain settings, when you have those face-to-face meetings, there's going to be some instances where
Right.
you can't really replace in-person
Mm.
face-to-face meetings. And I get that. Um, but I would say that it's a hybrid model that we're looking at here, where there is more of a shift towards the virtual world. But
Right.
then at the same time, you will still have the element of the in-person, face-to-face element sticking around for the foreseeable future at the same time as well.
Yeah, I hope so. I really miss having that real live human
Oh yeah.
connection where you're in the same room and you can actually shake someone's hand. Woohoo! Looking forward to that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, when this is all done, I think I have like a million hugs that are just waiting inside of me to
To
burst
deliver.
out.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Absolutely. So, you mostly talk about managing, how do we manage employees, and teams. So we may be just an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. We may own a business that has one or two people. So we're not thinking about, we have millions of employees, and there are people watching here that do have many, many employees that are working from home. But so I think your concepts that you can use for dealing with employees that are working away, from the office, we can also put those things when we talk about working with teams. We all have some kind of team that we're on working with on certain things. Maybe not our complete business is built on it, but we all have teams that we're involved with. So, do we have to worry if I were a business owner and I had all these employees remotely working, do I truly have to worry about them working, or are they slacking off? Oh, what do I do with that?
Understandably, because in today's world where we're not there to have that visual perspective, there could be a lot of questions going on. Huh. I wonder what they're up to right now. I get it. It's represents some sort of a loss of control that you used to have that all of a sudden that's been taken away from you. And of course, personally, my mind went, okay, I have that image in my head where one of my employees could be just lying in bed all day, having Netflix on the side, their laptop right on their stomach, and just eating junk food all day and getting no work done, even though they might show that they have a physical presence online. Yeah, of course, those thoughts came into my head over and over and over again. I get it. It's the natural thing to do. But there actually have been many studies on this topic. Are individuals going to perform less when they're not in the presence of, I'd say, their boss or team lead or whatnot? And one particular study back in 2017 done by Stanford looked at this topic, and they actually quickly found a willing participant out in Shanghai, China. It is China's largest travel agency, and so they typically work out of an office, with the cubicle standard. And the travel agency was rapidly expanding at that time. But they didn't want to pay for additional office space because office space it's very expensive, especially in a downtown core. I mean, it's the same thing if you're in New York, London, or
Yeah.
any major city in the world. And so what they did was they took 500 participants. And so they ensured that anybody participating had worked within the company for 2 years at least. So
Mm.
500 participants split, 250 would work from home permanently for 2 years, and the other 250 would just continue on in the office environment, just like they've been doing all this time.
Mhm.
And so what they discovered at the end of the study was for the 250 working from home was that there was a change in the level of productivity, and that change amounted to 13% in the
Oh,
upside. So productivity actually increased 13% for those working from home, the ones that we've been concerned about and wondering, well, are they doing any work? And the reasons for this, well, there's several reasons that they discovered. For those that are working from home, they're actually working their entire 9 to 5 with minimal distractions. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about commuting, or you don't have to worry about getting stuck in traffic. I mean, you just have to walk a couple of steps to your desk in your bedroom, and you're able to start working right away. You don't have this period of, cooling off or, getting your brain going. No, they're off and running. So there's one thing right there. Then you don't have anybody around you in conversation. You don't have coworkers that you can eavesdrop on. You don't have anybody listening in on conversations about, oh, how a coworker's date went horribly wrong the previous day. No, I mean, the office environment can be noisy, even though it might not be loud, but those can provide little distractions. And then you don't have that random individual just walking up and down the halls screaming out, all right, everybody, there's free cake in the kitchen. So all these little distractions are not non-existent in your home. And so you're able to focus on all the work that you're doing, because every time you have some sort of an interruption, then you have to get your mind reset again, and then you have to
yeah.
start those tasks all over again. No, here at home, you're always focused. You're going to go from start to end. And at the end of the day, nobody's leaving early to beat the traffic. You don't have appointments that you're going to leave the office earlier. And in general, people tend to leave a little bit earlier than their end of time or end of the workday time. So from start to finish, you're working 9 to 5, getting more done, and that equates to 13% more productivity, which was incredible to see. But then once I
Yeah.
realized, yeah, that makes sense, that the work is going to be there. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, and there's a but to this,
Of course.
despite these gains, at the end of the 2 years, what happened was for those 250 who were working from home, the company said, you know what, just stay home. You know what, you have the option. You can stay home forever. You don't have to ever come back to the office again. And the majority of them actually came back to the office like, no, I can't do this anymore. I can't work from home, because there's one element that was missed, is the human interaction that
Right.
we talked about, that we can't wait for, especially what we're experiencing now.
Yeah.
Human interaction, it's human nature to be around other people. And for some, it's been a stressful time being in isolation away from others.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. And so there's that risk. Yes, you may be increasing your output, but because of all the stresses that you could be putting yourself through being isolated, you could be undoing that productivity. And so really, a combination of doing both, whether you're working from the office twice a
Yes.
week, working from home 3 times a week, or some sort of a combination, is that ideal, perfect point. And so,
I love
yes,
it.
you don't have to worry about your employees working from home. They are going to be just fine.
I love it. I like that. I like that a lot. And I think hearing that it was a study from someplace reliable, I think that's a great point. That, I mean, I know I've worked from home for many, many years, and yeah, sometimes the doorbell rings, but you know what? If I am with a client, when I'm with one of my coaching clients, the doorbell rings just as if I were away at an office. If someone wants to leave a package, they leave a package. If someone wants to sell me a new roof, I'm not here to take the call. So too bad. So I think it's I personally enjoy it when I was able to go out and meet people. So now it's getting a little twitchy.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
well, um, so we're talking about people who are remotely working, and I think this applies to us, just who are remotely working, what's the key to managing those employees, just generally speaking, so that they really are engaged? They want to be engaged. I understand that, this study, 13% productivity increase. Woo woo, that sounds great. But how do we really get people to be more engaged?
Right. And whether you're managing employees or, as you mentioned before, working with teams as well too. And it all starts, the basic foundation is just communicating with them by creating some sort of a connection with them, so that you and your team, or you and your employees, have a sense of familiarity with each other. And it's not just simply as saying two words to them every day. It's not just saying, okay, hi, bye. No, there's a lot more to that that happens in between the beginning and the end of the day. Because, what's one thing that parents tell their children constantly when they're young? Don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers, don't talk to strangers. And so that mentality carries on into adulthood. And so we create this distance that we have with people that we're not familiar with. And when you have this sense of familiarity with others, you are more willing to go all the way for that person, because we as managers, we have an objective that we have delegated to someone in the team to help out with, to achieve. And so we want them to be engaged when completing those tasks. And so in today's world, we have literal distance right now. I mean, sure, you might not have been close within the physical confines of an office, but now there's physical, literal distance amongst us. So if you don't have that initial connection that's been built, it's hard for someone to be engaged in what they're doing for another person. But I'm here to say it's not too late. It is not too late right now, even though it might be a little bit more challenging to create that connection in a virtual environment. It's not too late. You can start right now in getting that connection going, and also a meaningful connection, meaning getting to know that person outside of the work environment, getting to know them personally. I mean, bonding over commonalities. Like, for example, one of my employees, he's a huge fan of mixed martial arts or the UFC, and it's something that we talk about often. And while he might be passionate about it, I have an interest in it, but still we're able to bond over it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, little by little, as I got to know him, I discovered that he actually used to write articles for a major UFC website, which I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then I asked him, well, why aren't you doing it anymore? And then he's like, well, it didn't pay much, so I just gave it up. And then that just led to a discussion about life in general, about how, it's not about the money, and something you should just keep at it because you never know what could turn out of it. Deeper life discussions like that.
Sure.
Getting to know my employee, and you know what, he does great work for me. I mean, I don't make it a secret. Like, the work that we do, it's boring stuff. It's not fun, but they are still able to do an amazing job. And that's the environment that you want to create with the people that you're working.
So for the folks who are watching that have employees or have other team members that they really want to start this engagement, so is there some adjustments, some keys? You're lightly talking about engage them and get to know them, but is there something real substantial that you can tell us? What should I do right now that I can start changing my behavior so that my team and my employees, we're really working together better? What can we do?
So especially right now in the virtual world, as I mentioned, we're in isolation, and that's not a good feeling for a lot because of the stress that it can generate. And I would say one little adjustment that can be made right now is to check in on your team
Yeah.
members or your employees. And you could set up like a weekly call with them. And weekly could be like a standard for many, but as you get to know these individuals a little bit more, you will figure out what the proper frequency may be. And when you're talking with them on a weekly basis, just to check in on them, one simple thing that can be done, and this is something that's not done in the corporate world like very often when we're on virtual calls, is just simply turn on the camera. Because 99.9% of my calls at work have every participant with their camera off. But in this instance, while you're checking in with your team members or your employee, just have that camera on, because this is the closest that we can have face-to-face interaction and given the situation. And while you're having a chat with them, you can avoid talking about work or anything related to COVID, except to check in whether to see that they and their families are doing well. But after that, just pivot away and just talk about something else, so that you're taking your mind off of any of the stresses. And especially now, everybody's pretty much taken on even more stress than they had 10 months ago. And so just do that slowly. And throughout these little chats that you have, you will find out little things about your team and your employees along the way. You're going to get to know each other a little bit more, but more importantly, you're providing each other like an escape temporarily.
Right.
I mean, you're allowing yourselves to recharge and just refresh during these moments. I mean, you're doing them a favor just by checking in on them on a weekly basis, for example. I mean, you're keeping the line of communication going also, and you're not endangering yourself by risking going back into that stranger mode as well. You know, when you haven't engaged with someone in a long time, you could start to feel like strangers again. But no, you're keeping that familiarity going as well, which is that foundation that I mentioned previously. So just check in with them.
And I like that, because a lot of times, I know when I used to work in corporate, and my director would want to check in. So often it was a negative thing. Just checking in, Dana. How's it going? But I think it could be so much more than that. I know my dear sweet husband John, his employees, when he worked at the state engineer's office, he would always, once a week, he would want to have a 5 to 10 minute chat. Just, how are things going? How are you doing? Amazing how that changed the dynamics and how they all connected and worked together. So you can do that virtually. Absolutely, you can do that virtually. I love that. We are running out of time, Albert. This has really been so much fun. I've gotten
that was fast. Yeah.
I know. Quick, woo, we're flying. So do you want to highlight one thing that you've said, or do you have another little nugget to share in just 30 seconds or so?
All I can say to everybody is, with those around you, don't be a stranger. That's the way I can sum this up.
Yeah, great. And that's a good reminder, because I think sometimes we feel so isolated, and we can't communicate like we used to, that we kind of just stay away from people. And I think that you're right, and I appreciate that, Albert, so much. Thank you for mentioning that. Is let's connect. And I want to share Albert's information with y'all. This is Albert's website, and how you can get a hold of him with his email. Albert at albertchangspeaks.com is his email. So if you have any questions, or you want to connect more with Albert, find out how you could work better with your teams and your employees, he is a virtual fountain of information. So make sure you get a hold of him. And if I can be of any service to you, there's my information right below. Dana at CoachDanaInspires.com. I would love to see how I could be of service to you. And so until next Tuesday, friends, we will see you then when we have another great business inspiration. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Albert.
Thank you, Dana. Much appreciated.